Hello, hello, yes, hello. Connecticut, New York, and the neighboring suburbs and nations. Hello, species value nature system. So I was reading, it says copyright. This is this is Connecticut, a book. So this is Connecticut. See, I'll just show it real quick because what it says here. It says Connecticut, copyright 1963. The Singer Company and Company. All rights reserved. No part of this book may be reproduced in any form without permission of the publisher. I'm not reproducing it. I'm just quoting it, and so because there's a building that was born that was built a year before the James Madison was born, and George Washington was born 1732, and I'm using U.S. President's Quick Study Guide. No two students throughout this guide names of places, political parties, organizations, etc. reflect the correct name for that time in history. So, 1751, James Madison was born. In 1752, there was already built a huge building on Yale's campus. There were already been fights about whether they should have the library and what is now Old Saybrook or New Haven. And now this is near water because this is the way they traveled then. But see, in other words, they already had means. They're already moving to build a transatlantic cable. Like if you can imagine putting a cable across the entire ocean. They weren't that, the way they pretend they made everyone pathology as. They had them using whale oil and stuff like that. In other words, they already had, in other words, they were reinventing roles with ancient revelations and pathology of our value, criminally re-engineered value of campuses of treatments of science maintain value, forced value for a slavery method. I mean, worse than slavery, but a slavery method, torture method, sustained natures of extortion, natures of liars, of criminal insidiousness nature. So I don't know, it should be all right. I just want to show the building. So in other words, there was a building. I don't know if we're allowed to show the picture anyway. So, but in other words, and it's not to get mad at the school. There was a report last year. Someone, got mad about slavery, and he punched a window at Yale because it had a picture of someone with slavery. Which I don't blame someone for something like that at all. But the treatments of it are still worse than criminally incompetent in relationship to the method of organized crime. And what needs to pretend to be integrity other as organized crime countering bodies is effectively maintained criminally foreign influenced and delusions wrought victims, but victim predators here and as other modern nations, but all massed together, individually grouped and together, valuing and having had value nature systems and treatments of that as pseudo positives, as criminal insidious nature. I'm not a lawyer. That need to blame other things themselves, others, and value others blamed for the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. And then we come to the tactically denatured relationship to nature that each modern nation was forced to blame on other things, others themselves, with and as roles with the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. And that not by accident is valuing wars, even if it hurts them. because everyone's just a knave child abused. Quality of type of expert with policies all bridged constitution left. Correlation natures trinities simultaneously inherent active and progressive means. As the identity greater than that is filling our nature of volume as value. So in other words, they had a building, they already had means buildings already up. Since before our founders' births, they already had crazy laws against everyone. In other words, they had laws against everyone was a slave. If they found out anyone was teaching someone with darker skin to read, that was the type of slave they would hurt you too. They forced everyone to roll. They built a polarity nature in conjunction with and as the value of tactically denatured relationship to nature means. One way redeems. So we have cars now and still valuing that nature of infrastructure that they couldn't, if they found out that they were even discussing building safer or better natures of infrastructure, outside of internation monitored database relationships with and as roles as nations individually grouped and together. That's how they kept them as fake identities. Only allowed to be roles, each position of the human fact treatment nature, pretending that's the identity of England, Connecticut, for example, as a colony and then as a state, with its roles as our ally, forced and wanted, but not through fact treatment natures styles that need to pretend other by having value and valuing treatments that leave out the semi-ancient organized crime. So in my other video, I never finished. There were 5 phases of history: ancient history, semi-ancient history, modern religions counters. That includes modern cultures counters. This hurts in identity as it is value to itself, each individual, as a gaining nature of volume, per its science law, per its value, fact treatment nature relationship. So in other words, there's ancient, semi-ancient is discerned by, because now the sciences, internation sciences became criminally re-engineered. That made states and area sciences value that, not trusted. Made nation sciences value that, not trusted, while it kept going. So, but not trusting it was used to trick it and to persuade it and to hurt it. Modern nations to devalue the course by why and how we are 3 natures of volume bonded, as each individual simultaneously has the value of the other sex and or as a group forced group nature of volume, and simultaneously the species nature of volume. This is a trinity manifest, the same way each of our cells are manifest as a trinity, with a value slash the value of that as nature, and simultaneously distinctly not distinctly nature and value simultaneously as the value of the cells together. The trinity is the cell nucleus, cell body, cell wall. I'm not a doctor. And it's also with the value of 2 other semi-natures of the identity of our complete nature. The one that each part of our, each complete identity is further semi-nature relationship to. In demonstration of correlation nature's value and value relationship to the identity the sciences work, the inventions work or not in relationship to. Further positive or not in relationship to it. invisible but still discernible. God is an algebraic term, value G, letter G, value G, used letter slash value G. Because it is temporary positive only as the value of a letter. That is not its complete value, which is also how it is value to and as value, which is beyond our control. For example, why and how we all need water. This is an identity and demonstration to us, simultaneously, inherently, actively, and progressively, and simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly. Value is nature, and nature is value, unceasingly, increasingly. So George Washington was born in 1732. He died in 1799, for a quick study guide of U.S. presidents. Doesn't have a, it says, this is a quick study guide of U.S. presidents. And it is rare art, charts, and company. You can't even read what they have there. ITART. It's unlegible. Let me see on his other academic outlines. So, quick study guides. They don't really have. So, anyway, the important thing that I'm trying to say, in other words, then we have the sensibilities of everyone then and now. The sensibilities of everyone now in relationship to topics treatments, fact treatments, sensibilities with that, whereas criminal insidious nature. So that can't pretend to be positive as science. This is how they kept victim predators for a method to exploit this as an organized crime method. Not lure, not peaceful, not criminal, not military boxings. Distinctly and non-distinctly, with and as the value of karate, but simultaneously distinctly and non-distinctly. There are proofs that the original nations valued our species before it was before international science was tactically criminally re-engineered. And that for example, and they revealed English and valued it together. And they knew that while they were valuing it together, they knew that that was value simultaneously, inherently, actively, and progressively, as more positive being made or as more negative being made. And the alphabet is also an algebraic equation to teach how they understood this. Because the 26 letters and sounds of English as letters as value and as identity nature, and they have an identity of relationship to themselves as a gaining nature of volume. Again, as values, identity of relationship to itself that is positive or negative, as what will only stay positive. So it forces it from here, leaf of hadith, while and how we entertain temporary positive systems that are not positive always and as exceptions. See, that's a nature of truth that is in demonstration as the value of logic, as the identity of logic. See, but we have logic taught with physical delusions and with criminally foreign influenced psychology with nations grouped individually and together and progressively. All types of jobs and natures of titles with policies and with crime rolls with databases that were originally instilled the subject matter of American history, of other nations' histories. But you can't have that. You can't protract the simple demonstration of that with what we know, because it shows that how what we know is being obfuscated by what is forced, pretended known legitimately, but it's not. In other words, and they blame things like money, things like that. In other words, our quality of fact treatment nature is the real causes of what causes negative value nature progressions, acts in nature when it's pseudoscience. When it's real science, it knows what's going to cause evolution because it's going to be positive to the order of the finite, which is before and as the value of each smallest thing. Each smallest identity of value is simultaneously unceasing semi-nature relationship to complete nature of hierarchy, which is how it is one complete nature that gains the value in sequence, then of and how it is simultaneously more and more value as a semi-nature, as three semi-natures that are bonded though, because it will only stay that value that way because it is one identity of value progression that will only stay one identity in one way. Perfect value progression. And that is why it can't be an identity is that is those three semi natures without simultaneously being a value of another nature of semi natures has the same value as it, which is the five semi natures it is, which these are about five distinctly invisible but still discernible semi natures of one identity of value progression. This is again is being the identity that inventions work or not in relationship to, and then being further positive or not in relationship to. And so we have to understand the organized crime method that was entrenched here before founding, and because YouTuber Anthony Wall from www.youtube.com/user/Romulus Wall, and from ancientgamingsystem.com. And this uses Little Rap Guy and Friends, and uses myself, and uses the gaming New York game /S and species game /S. They're when we're going to use this. These are games of pantheism to give means to enable each modern nation not only impositioned upon commonly, but that valued by each nation, blamed on other things others than themselves, because everyone's a knave to spot, hurt time-wise, hurt specifically through what only lets everyone blame other things others than themselves, each nature of insights or nature of correlation nature. See, we have people that understand policy because they have the jobs and stuff like that, but they're unaware of the crime methods, acts, and natures associated with FBI, associated with the Justice Department, every day, originally and still, because in other words, they're preventing free speech. They're pretending that people must sue for free speech, which is a crime act and method, and they're forging names and switching names to prevent that from being demonstrated. And so, no, the fake news steals our words, us to fake communications with them, fake relationships to others, even attaching kids to fake ties to child offenders, and even using interbranch family members, tricks associated with judges and with the people with their court, forging names, switching names, preventing people a means to ground counters to them all, pretending passions and emotions criminally in relationship to them all, crime rules, stacking databases, and obfuscating, worse than obfuscating, exploiting, and valuing, having had stacked and stacking databases with all kinds of natures of lies, of illusions, how that is motivated all victim predator roles also recorded. Also tied to how we have shared policing of stores, valuing criminal uses of the ground as our identities of the law, and as their nations, all tied with them privately, especially psychology. Its delusions wrought originally still, incapable of pretending it's about positive as science and as sensibilities, and not hurting other people insidiously, using databases, using their criminal roles with criminally foreign influenced interbranch drug cliques, pretending to be against that. I don't approve of any drugs. They're all not good. Demonstrably for those who use them. And per what leads up to that. Because I watched how they use it criminally. In other words, the exception would be marijuana. I would even agree with making alcohol an exception. I don't believe it's good. You should say that. You know, in other words, people who drink, even if you drink, you don't drink that often. You drink sometimes. Then you look at your face like the next day after you drink. I mean, even if you don't drink that, it's just waste your health. And in other words, marijuana, the two, then they have the qualities of it, and they have the sensibilities involved with retrieving stuff used criminally by natures of criminals associated with like synthetic marijuana they put in the stores. All database crime rolls with crime acts maintained, not even realized by standardized against each age of fact treatment nature of her. Time and positions too fast, too slow. In jobs as told by per policies for treatment of each age of correlation nature. They destroy the inherent, the easy, simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive means for the youngest kids, especially with darker skin, because you could see the pseudo positive easier. In other words, it's easier to discern what is simple to discern, only extensive through how they juxtapose a whole bunch of nature's needs and interests. Nature's like criminal and citizens, wrongdoers, wrongdoing, acts like predicate acts. Juxtapose a whole bunch of people like that, a whole bunch of hurt, only let realize everyone methodically maintained, invested, blaming others, having blamed others for the real cause of negative value nature, progressions, acts, and natures, having had that glorified even our founders, stolen identities. And that insidiously keeps insidious takes on American history and our founders associated with James Madison and with George Washington. Now, where George Washington is alpha, James Madison is yang. When they're not alpha together, when they're only temporary positive. There are proofs that the inflection, because there was a nature of fighting that the ancients understood, that everyone valued, because it wasn't hurting anyone's feelings, because they were really trying to be science as what is really truth, and not denying the slightest exception, not sequence shifting, not pretending they're positive and about science when they're not. In other words, they're pretending they're science per jobs, per titles. Originally, still recorded part of the fake sides of fact treatment nature. They had the lawyers originally and still fake types of law. The phenomenon of policies, nature's criminally foreign influence, delusions, raw victim predators that way. Treatments of morality that are left, influence. They can't defend that without offensive evidence reception crimes. So then they need to hide from and hurt and prevent from being realized uh, upon each individual group dash sex and species. They need to maintain self-value roles, preventing the quality of fact cheaping nature that everyone longs when they're young. But then by the time you get older, you see you're realized to a nature that is thought natural, that is only natural through and as roles with criminal insidiousness nature, with an as original and stayed breaching screen roles, victims but victim predators. So people need to pretend about their sacrifice. They're bringing in their negotiations for money with jobs, with all kinds of different kind of employers as a bridge constitution. All styles pretended not to realize, not by accident, influenced not by accident, only capable of doing that, making opinions. So then they can't see acts. See, when crime acts are being asked to be reported, these are people that already stole their identity, attached me to fake conversations with themselves. These are police forms forging names, switching names. Crimes with these are people crimes since they were kids with their family members, probably good people, probably people that sacrificed not just the rap mobs with we have criminally foreign influence. That's why we have so many people committing suicide with the and/or being just reported that, because the people associated with deaths and things like that, these are evidence racket database criminally foreign influence uses of them like that already anyway. Anyway, we have too many natures and methods of crime originally and still maintain value uncharged, undiscerned because everyone was valuing it. Blame the other things, others themselves. Fake news stole my identity. They've been coaching kids to identity theft roles because interbranch actors forged names, switched names, prevented, you know, police reports for what is recorded. They pretend they don't see evidence, things like that. Pretend they don't realize that they have physical delusions. Offensive evidence crime acts, identity theft crime acts, fake news, nature of crime acts they forced, pretended they had a conversation with me. Crime acts against my family, and then attaching them to fake words, fake relationships to others in its stories. Now coaching further, recently coached Weathersfield children to lies about me, coaching them to sensibilities to hide them recorded in the past, forcing all kinds of natures of medical, judicial, interbranch, verbal crimes with overt criminal enterprises with Joshua Julia, police forms that were involved with them through generations with overt criminal enterprise, other nations, police forms there and here, sick, fakes. Now CT breaks. Now who partakes? George Washington can tell no lies. He did not chop down the cherry tree. Connecticut. He came here right before the last battle of the war, battle of the Revolutionary War. George Washington came to CT, Connecticut. Cherry tree. He did not chop down this fake tree. He did semi he did. He chopped it down to enough to make ourselves, not ourselves, not even our founders, not even Native Americans, to give them a chance to someday have free speech. They had to do all kinds of abridged, tortured, and evidence reception impositions and just to get off Marbury versus Madison, which is all we need. Real justice must satisfy all appearances of real justice. So we have the Justice Department recorded with other nations with database crimes, with crimes against humanity, against the value of our nature as value, and it value as nature, simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly. and onto the three natures of the volume it is simultaneously as that one identity that is simultaneously distinctly and undistinctly is one demonstration of it using science, real. Now, but actually, we have the science is worse than obfuscating as well. This identity that the predicate act is value in relationship to, simultaneously while as the value to law in relationship to organized crime. Bodies called criminal enterprises, originally still natures of them juxtaposed, private, overt, unrealized, military, pretended just part of that because they're all shared nation sick, missing how what was maintaining each individual group dash sex and together. These are also misprisioning identity theft rackets with databases, crimes with their patients and criminals, and overt criminal enterprises with the campuses on off them recorded online policing. The policing of the Facebook pages of the courts and of the campuses are used to hide their life aggressions pretended legitimately, but not it's not legitimately. These were the offensive identity theft rackets and exploiting phenomenon everyone missed because it's so insidious. But it's recorded, so you have to follow mandated law. But we have only identities of law, of titles, and identities of job that the jobs with physical delusions, criminally foreign influenced natures that are as fake positive as and valuing that. So when someone's asking to report crime acts and methods recorded, they're saying, "Well, we don't see the evidences." It's recorded. I didn't have a conversation with WFSB. They attached my family members to fake positions, fake ties to others, even kids, not just my family, others too. They've been coaching the kids to hide their life progressions with the family members with the drug clicks interbranch. And that's not to say drugs are good. I agree that they have the best forms of marijuana. The other ones that not even I wouldn't even want. See, they keep that for themselves. They keep that for the people who are going to be involved with criminal uses of databases, criminal uses of and roles with what keeps hurt, that keeps streams going into court each day, and keeping their own lives and roles with that hurt blamed on those people who are victim predators and or completely innocent, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated how set up to hide their life progressions and needs for it, recorded. Their needs to hide how they were devaluing the identity of each location, of their hiding natures of gun crime roles associated with the shootings in Hartford, intercities. These are what people with crimes on off the state judicial branch offices, with houses next to it too. This is people with crimes with houses next to the state prison offices associated with a Cuddy family. I never had a family with a conversation with any of the Cuddy brothers. They're recorded, confessed, involved with their neighbor, like these are all victims that are they're involved with justice rackets, like Tom DeChacho and his sister. You know, her sister was not. Her sister was a nice girl. She was a victim. She was put in a speech class with me when I was a senior, but I had to stay back. And she was older than me too. I think I don't know, but I had to stay back. That's how I knew her, and I had nothing to do with her in that class. But that's one of the police farms associated in my area. Also with a Dillon family, and a Kevin Dillon and a Sean Dillon and Anna Dillon recorded, in fact, confessed involved with him with other houses in the area, foreign and domestic police and medical families currently involved. Ones that were in the family in the area a while ago too. And this is also them recording, confessed, and demonstrated stacking names. Because then what do you have to do? In other words, they're making all these excuses and things online and in cases and intercampuses stacking names on them. They're also having something with the phenomenon with like 5 or 6 girls with the name Alicia tied to New York City and to crimes with the on-off campuses, intercampuses, criminal acts, and then roles with leading up to and in the Trade Center attack context, Ninth Circuit. And these are people associated with there was an attack on the Pentagon there. These are people associated with crimes, roles with evidence reception predators, interbranch with Washington case before that. There was a 2006 or 1989 Reader's Digest article by Eugene Methvin about what led up to that with the sequence shift inside the Trade Center attack context, Ninth Circuit right next to it in Manhattan, with the same people further associated with crimes against me and others on off CCSU, attaching the victims to fake positions, fake words, fake natures of relationships to others, even the youngest kids. This is how then the women roles interbranch and with medical families, whole families working together with triage places, with police forms associated with them, doctors associated with foreign and domestic, attaching people that were never even in those triages to fake relationships to the police in those places, fake ways they got. In other words, we have all kinds of natures of federal crimes, fake evidences, and crime methods where intercity police forms associated with the higher ones criminally involved with the foreign. They stack different natures of mistakes on purpose with police reports so they can go back and pretend they don't understand and pretend to adapting things. And they bring in various natures. In other words, there's a officer Magnanos from East Hartford associated with family member, a daughter or something like that, and his family, and other police forms with New Britain Superior Court, private police associated with CCSU criminality, crime acts at Trinity College too. A Joshua Stryker recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminally involved with deans forging and switching names, crimes with police forms leading up to a 2006 case too, tied to the Trade Center attack crime case. And that's with defendant, former director of the FBI. And I witnessed that part of the 2006 case. I had already been trying to report. I didn't tell my father because of the nature of their crime methods there and criminal uses of a Hartford court. I didn't know about that then, but I knew about them. I tried to report those courts were already involved criminally and with military police, foreign and domestic, and how they were facilitated to it, and with crimes with body dumping spots, including the serial killer. They were with other natures of crime with him first, and since then. And with the body dumping spot of Billy Grasso, with the same people involved with them, with the child defenders, and with this Dillon family, with the many in my area. So they stack names of people I never had conversation with because they have other pretended in databases already through time. So they have line progressions they need to hide. And this is what the organized crime method did to maintain everyone valuing roles, blaming the real causes of what hurt everyone on other things others themselves anyway. So this is what came to the motivations of people insidiously to pretend to be, they bring up these terms like Uncle Tom, Sense and Sensibilities, with Jane Austen with Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice. And in other words, Harriet Beecher Stowe is with the phrase Uncle Tom. See, this is being used for what was a polarity method, where everyone was a fact-cheap in nature slave, and everyone was maintained methodically and capable of telling about it, and hurt if they tried to. Each age of fact-cheap in nature. Worse than prevented are correlation nature simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive means. They're maintaining value, fake sides of correlation nature, fake middles, physical delusions. So this is about the Trinity sabotage. The Trinity, this is about how the religions are about the law and about science, actually. But we have the religions tactically taught wrong with each of the sciences through intercampuses, from off campuses maintained, ground of education, and on off campuses and layers, motivations to roles with fact treatment nature tricks tied to databases, then tied to questionings in the background about people and relationship. So we have jobs that have policies on what they do that are tactically, in other words, that are the Constitution valued abridged. And that's their method, pretending it's the policy of their job. When the policy is that they're supposed to follow mandated law, but they're pretending they can't believe and understand about how directors of agencies could be involved with child abuses, with the natures of crime acts tried to be reported. They pretend people have mental diagnosis recorded. They forge names to do it. They spread lies and delusions. With the drug clicks, with the interbranch, they have the good marijuana. They use that also criminally because then they have each age of fact treatment nature in a trap. Then they have a means to they could make confessions. This is where they're using confessions criminally. They're keeping the branches simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly, each one of them, and together and grouped, and each area simultaneously, distinctly together and grouped. Each person, the area, location, criminally foreign influence through an organized crime method that is before all these overt criminal enterprises, and as what really furthers them. It's recorded. They need to hide the same finite, active body of value lies and progressive lies with the branches. They use crime methods, forging names, switching names. See, when you switch a name, now and when you make confessions, also now you're using time. You add someone in your location. You can just get away with pretending all these people are delusional. Now I'll delineate the delusions of each branch for you now. See, this is why and how they're hurting little kids and not letting it reported. And again, the news is coaching them. Recorded coaching girls, making girls stay home. Pretend that they're worried about what I say and things like that. Because the parents are stuck with overt criminal enterprise narratives, lies about me. Because they walked by me a couple times. Each front, they even with this, there's a Joshua Julian I never had anything to do with, involved with the proven child offenders criminally further. Their criminal uses of Facebook policing, the sensibilities of Facebook in relationship to what their policies are, as how they define themselves as a business, towards the sensibilities of people. In other words, they have the right to block people. That's not enough. In other words, if you don't, and sometimes if you block someone, they're already having used this for crimes and cases, for child abuses, even sexual, even medical, and even judicial, as identity theft crime acts roles, for sustaining impositions that are training and hurting and preventing each age of correlation nature. It means to simultaneously inherent active and progressive protraction of values, identities, value. This value is being devalued, each person, per what is pretending misprision that it cares for it at the same time. Real insidious quick tricks. This is also tied to conscious, where they have types of campuses. They have types of reactions, counters to what is originally instilled, effectively maintained, blamed on other things, others themselves, the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts and natures. Acts like predicate acts, natures like wrongdoers, criminal citizens natures, wrongdoing. This is what American history is about. This is what each modern history is about. Mao Zedong didn't have free speech. Already nations were forced, shared, grouped in such a way with value nature systems other than the one that yin yang is about. The alpha and omega are about simultaneously, distinctly and not distinctly, right to left and left to right, the masculine and the feminine, not by accident. This just teach how we are an increasing nature of volume. The real cause to polarity on a magnet is this semi-nature's complete identity of relationship to itself that will only stay. So the energy goes inside the magnet. No, not just the energy, the body a value. If you take a piece of steel and you take a car battery and you put both sides of it, don't do this because you get shocked or whatever. But there'll be a spark and stuff like that. But the energy goes inside the metal, and now you have a magnet. If you do this two of them, one side they're going to stick together, one side they're going to push apart. So we have the polarity nature that is also with the semi nature as a trinity, and as its complete nature of relationship to itself, as is which is a positive or negative relationship to itself. And so, you know, which is the value that is simultaneously the value of the smallest thing, the order to the finite, the order to the what is bonded onto our quality of fact, treatment, nature as invisible but still discernible. And again, in relationship to this identity, the inventions work in relationship to or not invisible but still discernible, and further positive or negative in relationship to all that, like nuclear weapons. It's negative value nature progression. The needs to go to space are real. The needs to get away from going to space are real. What forces are needed is how nations together are valuing the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures having been valued and stayed valued, blamed on other things, causes, and that are real. When they went made, so all we have to do is follow mandates, mandated law, and use correlation nature simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive means. And we can see that we have people stacking. We have means to natures of relief instantly that will end all kinds of shootings, that will end all kinds of hurt, all kinds of natures of stabbings, all kinds of nations of untimely death, mistreatments of what really happened, other value put in there, because time always is being used to exploit forever nature's course. This is a grip that is soft grip, is the value of a soft grip, value of hard grip, and value of a nature of grip that holds Earth in the planets in zero gravity, where it has each identity of volume is a gaining nature of volume. Each identity of value is a gaining nature of value. So, and life distinctly and non-distinctly a demonstration of it. And note the rest of nature has no criminal foreign influences. So we are caused to lethal hadith for space nature transfer, which it won't leak. This value progression perfect. So it forces it, because we're now a science other than what is the order to the value of the finite, the order to the value of our visible but still discernible quality of fact, treatment, nature, value, and the order to our progressive value, positive or negative, in relationship to its complete nature of identity and its complete identity of relationship to itself, the value of that. And English was revealed to teach this. The value of a wall is two capital V's making a capital W. And this is all still as temporary positive. This is body of value discernment system. Why plant life, human life, all other physical values, gaseous values. There are identities of value. This is an identity of value discernment system as science that is actual and actually about positive. So each individual has the identity of positive beyond our control. We all need water. For the order of the value of to the finite, smallest thing. Simultaneously, why is the order to our overall? We need water, and we need it actively. And this is the cause. So if we're going to be positive to those three natures of volume at once, we have the simultaneously the value of each person being. If we're going to be positive onto each individual, group, sex, and species nature of volume at once, That's going to cause positive, that's an identity of relationship to itself that builds more positive, temporary slash lasting positive, which is positive that is temporary, that is also positive to one as itself in a way that causes evolution here. Reveals means that just appear, that weren't realized or even fathomable before. These are the means of each modern nation understands its recorded semi-ancient organized crime method. So there's the ancient, the semi-ancient counters, culturally, modern religions that were forced parted. And this is about how our species' nature of volume was forced, entertained, not using its course, where and how we're going. And when we are valued to what is individual nature of volume, group dash sex, and species nature of volume simultaneously, it's in that order. It's valuing individual rights first. When we are still state criminal and serious nature of positive, not science true always as exception. See, there's a difference between truth and truth that is not denying any exceptions, especially where and how we have this organized crime method that American history is about, that other nations' histories are about. When they pretend to be against Mao Zedong by pretending because they, by really believing also that because they believe because of communism, whatever like that, they're leaving out, they're valuing means to fake sides. In other words, they're leaving out Mao Zedong didn't have free speech. Each modern nation was forced through science is already criminally re-engineered. The nature, they knew that the semi-ancient organized crime method knew that they could get the phenomenon of what is now modern nations valuing um, natures of sciences and natures of fact human nature, each quality of value as us as nature and nature as value. That's important. Nature is value, and value as nature simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly. This is this identity that the veg's work or not in relationship to in demonstration to us. This is simple. This is not complicated. This is being obfuscated and having been obfuscated since semi-ancient times. And to make that's the method. That's the organized crime method used by the devil. This is why forgiveness is so important. Because this is a method that invested everyone originally having valued blaming the the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts and natures, having been valued blamed on other things and on others and on selves. And that it needs to progressively, inherently, actively, and progressively more and more blame the real causes of more and more negative value nature progressions, acts and natures called blamed on other things, like radical Islam. Meanwhile, it's the insidious takes of religions influenced through the campuses as victims, but just like the same way treatments of English are being used to obfuscate how the English is revealed to teach about how the sciences share an identity. That is the value of a predicate in English. The predicate in English is demonstrating how identity nature has a simultaneously inherent active and progressive negative relationship to itself, as an increasing nature of volume as a quality of diffusion in relationship to itself, while as ourselves, where and how our complete identity is simultaneously an unceasing semi-nature relationship to itself, before and then while the value of our three natures of volume, while as the value of the finite, of the active, and as the progressive, while as the value of what is soft grip, hard, and that seat that Earth has that is simultaneously distinct or non-distinctly from the rest of the planets in zero gravity, because this is where all parts of all things can be at the same time simultaneously in demonstration of this simultaneous nature, the everything nature. That Allah's name was revealed to teach distinctly and non-distinctly through English. But this is about how we're only right about it if we're understanding how there are other sounds besides these 26 sounds of English. And that is about how, everything's in demonstration of this Trinity's relationship to itself, that is positive or negative, in relationship to how we are three natures of volume, inherent, active, and progressive. Then that is gaining through how why and how that identity of value progression is inseparable from the physical one we are, as individual, group, sex, and species, which is a quality of diffusion to itself, but as an increasing nature of volume, only increasing. And when we're done increasing, it's still increasing the nature of what is positive or lasting negative forever nature. Heaven and hell came from this. The science English was revealed to teach about the identity the sciences share. So we don't have free speech. And we don't have means, and each of the branches individually grouped and together, distinctly and non-distinctly, are offensively, criminally preventing us from suing them properly to counter. And though they're forcing us, to enter, where there are too many natures of crimes and crime rolls this way to counter at once, with them forging names, switching names into branch, preventing people from attaching us to fake relationships to others, fake locations, hurting family members of each age. There are crime rolls insidiously with overt criminal enterprises. Other nations' police forms here and there criminally using the identity of the ground together, the identity of positive together as criminal insidious natures. So they can't afford one person with correlation nature simultaneously in here, active and progressive means and free speech at once. These are identity theft rackets roles originally and still. Our American history is not hard. In other nations' histories aren't hard. In other words, Mao Zedong did not have free speech. Like James Madison, like George Washington, they were natures of slaves, forced time-wise. Every fact sheet be too fast, too slow, used criminally. The branches, areas, and states were already in collusion since before they were born. That's why Mao Zedong was around when they still had slavery over here. Because you won because we won America, because the North won a Civil War means nothing. That's fake sides against fake sides when you put it that way. The whole entire species came through criminally foreign influence education, the ground of education, and all fake sides more invested, blaming other things, others themselves. There was an organized crime roles, breaching roles, natures as pseudo-positive, as criminal insidious natures. Couldn't defend that and pretend to be about positive actual. So they knew that there would be insidious natures that would pretend to be about positive anyways as victim predators. This was a science. This is the only science since semi-ancient times. This just reminds. And as one that's preventing the simultaneously inherent, active, and progressive means that are so simple that we could go into each science right now and demonstrate physical delusions recorded, demonstrate criminal foreign influences recorded, and demonstrate that valued already, having been valued in cases already criminally used against Albania. We already have people in prisons recorded with those prisons had crimes with the criminals when they were outside of the prison. Then they have all kind of fake narratives in the databases. Then that's attached to them just sticking straight up identity thefts against people, fake recorded things in the databases. That's all the private police and other forms of them criminally using. Simply they are misprision. Not, I'm using this term as a whole bunch of people that even colleagues or whatever. These are also people woven into crimes with strangers through their relationships, reliance upon databases as professionals with policies directed to do that, but also influenced to do it. So when they do it wrong, they can't go back and simply correct their mistakes. They can't afford now to follow the rules. Because what they have been pretending and are pretending in the background, they couldn't do on paper without, they will get, they're in trouble now. Because I have the rights to the Attorney General now. The Attorney General of the United States, in other words, not the states and areas Attorney Generals recorded originating still criminally foreign influence delusions raw. And worse than incapable now of helping and as natures recorded unwilling to because of such influences, because of such criminal foreign influence and delusions, because of ill natures that because they know they need to hide their natures now from correlation natures, again simultaneously inherent active and progressive means. They're using making people go against the environment, making as what to attack, environmental change. Because then, in other words, this is nature's course. Or drop the force, vaccines. It tells us things. So this is the Trinity's identity of relationship to itself. This is identity's course. This is identity nature. What positive and negative are about. What polarity nature is about. What yin yang and what alpha and omega are about simultaneously. If that's not understood, you can't teach that right here or there. And that is valued right, taught wrong here and there, distinctly and non-distinctly. Because here and there has internation criminal foreign influences, but it's not sourced by one nation. And it's in this method again, as a method effectively maintaining everyone blaming other things other than themselves. Blaming others, and they have to hide the line progressions demonstrating it. Not by accident, right with the same sick prison cliques originally still. Sick, fake mental experts. Now we have ill violence and databases crimes, identity thefts, natures of drug crimes with only people that counter such. So then they need to pretend care against things like addiction. In other words, because then they can make things up about people they don't even take credit. They put the fake things in databases. These are high criminals associated with databases, not by accident, through our own there and here, criminally foreign influenced identities of patriotism only in relationship to contrast, not by accident. So they have police used for crime methods with the Justice Department. They have judges used for crime methods, various natures of courts used criminally with roles with the Justice Department, with crimes on and off campuses, crime tricks, methods that start at the youngest grade. These are people each age of, this is already perfected as what built in layers, natures of criminal and citizens is self-appreciated. This is really what was causing the shootings in Hartford, Connecticut through time. The same people also tied to the criminal uses of the locations of the sickest crimes, more rare, but in Wethersfield through time. There are connections between those crimes. There are reports of a person of a couple that was kidnapped in their house, or a house they were in at one time, but now they're in a house at the corner of Fox Hill and Highcrest Street with for their child defenders, with interbranch family members, and with principals proven and further recorded and involved with child offenders, and with medical offenders further, with men and women ones, whole families involved criminally, and people that live next to the schools criminally involved. And these are with Russian families criminally involved, and how they're juxtaposed with other nations, and they're ducking behind that all that they have with that as fake sides here and there. See the suit and ties. In other words, there's a Cololo family and an O'Brien family further recorded and confessed crimes with the principal sex offenders campus with the corners, and with a Sion Faglione family, and with further with the New Britain Superior Court, with many men and women associated with prosecutors through time, once close to my age, involved with identity thefts, fake conversations made behind my back through time, crimes with forging names, switching names, sticking sick things in databases, fake online crimes, crimes in cases, sequence shifts, attaching me and others to fake locations, fake sequences. These are people tied to the facilitated the crime acts, roles, illusions, with and as ones with the drug clicks, also with the proven sequence shift from inside the Ninth Circuit context trade center. There's a trade there was a Leahy family, other doctors and women in their and men in their family associated with trade center predicate acts. Predicate acts forging names of doctors, switching names of doctors, crimes with drugs, formal and other. Then prevent encounters because they're crimes with various natures of courts and judges, with tricks, forging names, switching names. They can't put anything on paper. They're already criminally involved. They're pretending other. That's recorded too. They're fake with passions and emotions, not by accident. Insidiously, that being used for the child abuses. We have fake positive natures. See criminal seriousness nature. So Fox, CT, and WFSB and other media were recorded and confessed involved with various natures of police forms, FBI, CIA, per them, per this Leahy family too. Pretend I had conversations about CIA with them or anything. I never had a conversation with them about police. They pretend I had a conversation with them about police recording equipment. These are also people that influenced relatives of mine to sensibility. That's what they do. Because when you say something to people that don't know what you're talking about, as police, they're going to have reactions that they could lie, pretend mean other than they do. The news, WFSB also recorded confessed having been influenced by interbranch police and judges to do this criminally, after there were already crime acts against those families and crime rolls and cases with federal criminals against them, and further than realized, recorded. These are crimes with election crimes associated with many associated with Fianza family. Also, crimes on off the judicial branch offices with them. Criminal uses of color, black and white crimes with Confederate flag theme crimes with the courts, with doctors, with the drug clicks, overt criminal enterprises criminally involved with them. Military families forging, switching names, crimes with Kuwaiti military, sexual circles associated with that, with prison cliques, with with uses of religious stewards used for criminalities and sensibilities that can't defend themselves, and prevent someone needing to use to report things. These are criminal seriousness natures preventing mandated law, tools, preventing uses of religious rights by keeping states and areas in collusion with the uses of the sensibilities of the religious spots. As people, as opinion natures, um, refusing, as opinion natures that can't defend themselves in the Constitution on the bridge. They can't handle someone asking to report things when they're using correlation natures, some things like inherent active and progressive means. They can't follow mandated law. They need to hide their actually recorded natures now from this. So the New York game and the Hartford game, because we have a whole bunch of people associated with Lena's Pizza in Hartford, and with a Demorals store in Rocky Hill, and with their roles with stores and people in with intercity, with the courts criminally involved, with the police forms criminally involved, with overt criminal enterprises criminally involved, and with the Kerr family, and with girls I don't know the names of that pretended other associated with and with this with a Oliveri family, and with the Joshua Stryker, and with male people associated with houses in my area that they need to pretend because they're in my area. I knew them before I did, because they had database crimes as placements in my classes. But first they were used were crimes with people that were my age, that I don't know at all, and that I barely know, and or was, just, I had the one sister of a brother and a sister, another sister of hers involved. I was my babysitter. So they have her spreading pretension. They had her on one of the people used on Facebook to pretend she had a conversation with me, and that I had a conversation with her about the CIA. These are people with the CIA crimes recorded and confessed involved with the FBI ones, with the director of the FBI as a defendant, no, in a 2006 case, and with the people from Connecticut with the Crime Acts interstate and internation before that. These are also people crimes with Sandy Hook databases and child campuses, and medical doctors with crimes with child offenders that were in there as their prisoners and as their patients further criminally involved with the family member, a mother of one, and associated with people next to the campuses, like a Pierce family. I never had anything to do with them. I noted how there was exceptions that were recorded, criminally exploited, per them knowing or not, and or not. I don't know if that's the same Pierce woman associated, with confession, tied to one of the uncharged but recorded child offenders associated with crimes with a Dingleberry and a Dewberry guy, and with black and white military and foreign and domestic crime acts, the predicate acts, attaching me to fake conversations, drug crimes, natures of crimes, forging names, crimes with databases, medical corruption, crimes against patients. Now, this is making courts. This has courts already criminally involved with locations. We have the whole nature of the courts, misprision natures involved with the problems. Forgiveness is for this. So they need to know how to charge things. They need to know how to free speech. Then they can't do that. They're already stuck. So they need to admit it and let someone do that. They're not letting the president do that. They're pretending they're about science by pretending by having and kept and keeping criminal uses of libraries, criminal uses of research methods, natures of research. They're maintaining blame the other causes things themselves. The real causes for the shootings on Garden Street reported through time. The real causes of shootings in Hartford. Crime methods recorded sustained on intercampuses, intercity through time, sickly, distinctly, per methodically, to keep how sickly, non-distinctly from being discerned. Not one has learned. This is exploiting what is inseparably sickly, is inseparably the science, the identity of the science that is the order of the finite, active and progressive at the same time, distinctly and non-distinctly. So this is preventing free speech, forcing it entertained to jobs and natures of jobs that are all abridged. So they're valuing the extortion methods missed by everyone because they're blaming the roles with it on other things, others themselves, and or they're blaming the right people that are criminally involved the wrong way because they're also influenced to it for the criminal uses of each location already by the courts and by the police forms. Criminal uses of our nature's actual value, how influenced to it through these tactically, methodically, not other than actual value progression, perfect value nature systems, not by accident. So the ancient gaming system and your game, we're asking to make police reports regarding WFSB and Fox Connecticut News with all kinds of crimes from people from my town I never had anything to do with police, with them forging and switching names and identity theft crime acts rules. You know, one that I barely know because they walked by me one time, like a Eric Mendez. He never used to pretend me the locations. These are crime rolls with Phil Colo, also recorded and confessed and demonstrated by the courts, further criminally involved with drugs crimes, crimes with state police and with doctors, foreign and domestic, and with overt criminal enterprises for his family members, per them, and associated with evidence crimes with forensics places through time. People associated criminally with Lance Cuddy, with the people with the database crimes when I was growing up, with the houses on off the state prison offices, then criminally involved with the fake news natures of crime acts, not just identity theft crime acts, sequence shifts, attaching me and others to fake locations, fake ties to others. Even they pretend I had a doctors of psychology as my own when I was a kid. I had no doctors of psychology as a kid. They're out of their minds. These are wicked, degenerate people recorded. They're with the judges' crime rolls that you have to deal in sequence simultaneously, distinctly, and not distinct with the police forms criminally involved. And there's a house on there's a whole bunch of houses on off Two Rod Highway, and the street's tiny to it, like the Bone Turnpike. Places on off that criminally involved with the child offenders, with foreign and domestic medical families, and crimes with overt criminal enterprises, and with the news, and with offensive evidence reception tricks, and then, lying about people's behavior in a sustained way. In other words, these are people also recorded and confessed, pretending, that they pretended I said people were following me because they forged names of doctors, pretending to be conversations with themselves, and that's one of the symptoms of mental diagnosis they pretend people have. Recorded because they forged the names. The doctor confessed it. Dr. Shamsi Ali. They use triages to force people to mental evaluation. They forged names, switched names. Their whole families there that were raised with drug crime rolls, all kind of evidence crime rolls with people before they were even proven to be federal criminals, who were proven to be federal criminals, and ones criminally involved with crimes in the Trade Center attack context, and since, from Connecticut, interstates, and further in crimes and cases, further with criminal uses of databases, of badges, of natures of gun crimes recorded but missed. Now lift each fist. Respond, you cowards. Here. Respond right here. If you go to it's recorded. If you go to the police station, they forge names, switch names, attach you to fake words and relationships to themselves through time. If you go to court, they forge names, switch names, attach you to fake relationships to other fake recorded things in databases. Attach you your family members, even the youngest kids. These are predators, the same ones with the kids are recorded how maintained motivated predators with the elderly, pretending that's just life, that's money, we don't have time, our job is uncomfortable, we have to go here, we have to make this girl, we have to do work, we have to do all these things at once. You have to go to bed now at this time. How are you going to eat right on time perfectly when we want you to eat? This is a torture method. You wake up now. You respond right here. Who called? I'm not going to yell at you unless you're going to lie. Anyone who responds, I'm trying to say, who's going to believe now? You need to be rewarded. You'll be rewarded because people find out. See, people are being lied to, and they're blaming the cause of it on other things other than self. We're all haters offensively. We have all We have identity theft rackets offensively. So you respond here. It was Hartford. It's long been worse than forsaken. And the Harriet Beecher Stowe House, regarding the Uncle Tom phrase, is involved with the organized crime method that had her use that because she was a sense and sensibility nature, which Jane Austen will also be a topic of our learning, which is also gaining means. Because our projects for all the departments of the ancient gaming system, Campus Marcius / Campus Martius is, we're gonna make it own it. But we're also gonna set up pantheism to give each of the nations simultaneous means to counter what came from some ancient times, maintaining negative value, nature, progressions, action, nature is blamed on other causes, other things themselves. When the agents say themselves, respond when we're alone. Call out for one. I feel good. Santa Claus is read one way alone. Come on, Campus Marcius calls you home. Be clear. Call lost and found. We need the name returned. Now gather all around. Who disbelieves? Who disbelieves? For legal reasons, it is recorded obligations of everyone to have that question answered. Because they're forging names and switching names each branch, sequence shifts, identity theft rackets rolls. They can't answer that question. They're pretending they should be sued. Let's go. The Attorney General, they've been lying to them. They went right ahead and used Congress criminally. They went after fear. It means appear when we're alone. Come on. Come on. Campus Marcius needs a name. Some come alone, some bring that up. Go lost and found. Who sees? Campus Marcius calls you through the breeze. At ease. Do not